Hi there, my name's Missy Tofu, and today I'm going to start reading my little Alicorn by insert author here. This is my first reading, so I don't know how far I'm going to get through it, and my voices may be a bit off, but I'm gonna try anyway, because I haven't found a reading of this story on YouTube yet, so I kind of like to sit around and do other things while listening to fan fictions, and this is one that I really like, so just decided to maybe just do it myself. Okay, let's go ahead. My Little Alicorn by insert author here. Chapter 1, Luna's Revenge. Princess Luna sat in her bedchambers, pondering over her latest scheme. In front of her sat a large dragon-hide bound book, one of the oldest magic tomes in the Canterlot Royal Library, the Arcanus e Draconis. Inside it were the foulest spells known to Equestria, forbidden magic long since outlawed by Celestia herself. It had taken all of Luna's cunning just to retrieve the thing, and even more to translate its long-forgotten tongue into a language she understood. And now, it was going to pay off. The princess could not help but smirk at the magnificence of it all. For too long she had suffered under Celestia's hooves. Only a year ago, when she had finally been released from Nightmare Moon's control, she had hoped power would be shared more evenly between the sisters. Every time she tried to invite herself to one of Celestia's countless meetings and audiences, however, her sister turned her down. And on the few occasions she had to be there, it was Celestia who fielded all the questions, Celestia who talked over her sister, Celestia who got all the praise, Celestia, Celestia, Celestia. Instead, she was given her own little court of assistants and servants during the night, working behind the scenes to fix her sister's little mistakes and keep Equestria running smoothly. It was a full-time job, between her sister's apparent inability to do long algebra and most of the nobility's reluctance to even acknowledge her. Even worse, Celestia was just as terrible as ever. Luna had been forced to endure one indignity after another. That was about to change. With but one spell, she would finally be free of Celestia's madness once and for all. She had arranged her room to sequential perfection. A pentagram was drawn on the floor and hidden under a throw rug. A large mirror was tucked into one corner, its surface polished to a glistening sheen. Next to her bed sat an ancient oak chest, inside of which the penultimate step in Celestia's doom sat. And most importantly of all, she had requested that her sister's prized pupil, Twilight Sparkle, come to her chambers for an informal meeting. She had even set up the usual bureaucracy so that she'd arrive just in time to watch her beloved teacher's final humiliation. At long last, she would have her revenge. Princess Celestia wanted to be doing something, anything, besides holding court today. Normally this was the highlight of her day. Here, for a few short hours a day, she could interact with the common ponies. The usual protocol still had to be upheld, of course, and the Pegasus guards tended to make things a tad more intimidating, but at the very least it was someone outside of the usual power circle. The nobles were an insufferable bunch, to put it lightly, and most of the official business had worn out its welcome over the millennia. Even if her subjects feared her, and she knew they did, she could at least pretend that they were being completely honest and open with her. Not today. This was just another very long day in a very long month. First, there was the fire in Stalingrad. A week later, half the grain in Trottingham spoiled, and last week, the cost estimates for rebuilding the palace ballroom and gardens came in, strapping for most of the already dwindling treasury. And tax season was coming up, meaning any minute now, every pony in Equestria would be lining up with a reason why they can't pay. There were no more marriages to bless, or businesses to help finance, or schoolfulls to entertain with Equestria history. Those were but relics of happier days. Today's court was just like every other in recent memory, one long series of disasters. The four-pony of the Cloudstar Weather Service was the next to last pony on the list today. She followed the ritual every step of the way. Walk forward with your head low, stop 10 feet from the first step, bow, raise head, and start pleading for your life. This last step wasn't technically in the rules, but it was usually how every meeting of this kind went. Celestia nodded her head, acknowledging the pony's ability to rote memorize. Please, introduce yourself to the court. Rainy Days, Your Majesty. There is no need for formalities, Miss Days. A horn glowed, levitating up a rather large scroll of all of today's agenda. Let's see. You are responding to the errors in the national weather schedule. Is that correct? Rainy Day's eyes were starting to water, her front legs shaking in fear of her approaching doom, while her wings stiffened as a fight-or-flight response. Once again, Celestia had seen it millions of times, and quite frankly she was getting very frustrated by it. I'm sorry, Your Majesty. We had assumed the planned drought in Appaloosa was going to last another 2 weeks. We already dispatched our weather teams, and there should be enough water for the town within a few weeks. By which point the town's water supply would have almost completely dried up. Crop estimates are already down 20%, not including the tribute to the buffalo in the region. She shifted the scroll up slightly, mostly to keep from seeing Rainy Day's ever-increasing agitation. What's this about flooding in Philadelphia? Well, that's why we had problems in Appaloosa. They were supposed to get the rain clouds in Philadelphia. Was supposed to be bone dry until we finished moving out every parasprite in the region. There had been 3 recursions in the last year. We can barely keep every pony fed. Now they're neck deep in water? We're in the process of drying the city. I swear this will never happen again. I'm sure it won't. Still, at least you're remedying the situation. I want a full report when the job's done, okay? Rainy Days nodded in response, gave a rehearsed thank you for not banishing me farewell, and trotted out of the throne room, the door closing behind her. The suffocating air of tension gradually lifted as Celestia face-hoofed. Okay, one more today. I just have to last a little. There was a sudden crash in the next room, followed by the most terrifying voice in all of Ponytime. Ah! A common workhorse dares to speak to Princess Celestia before me? Guards, I demand she be removed from the castle immediately! Blue blood. Celestia leaned towards the nearest guard. Her normally serene face was now a mishmash of unfiltered frustration and complete astonishment. I thought I told you to never let him in here again. Princess Luna rescinded the order, Your Highness. She wants the court open to all ponies. That's because she doesn't have to deal with him. The door slammed open, and Blue Blood strode into the room, acting like he was the single most important pony in the world. Celestia shot back into position, putting on that queenly mask that only a saint would wear in the company of someone like her nephew. The stallion noble performed the same ritual as Rainy Days. This time, however, there was a sense of arrogance about him instead of fear. The tension from before was now so thick it could be cut with a knife. Hello, Blue Blood. How lovely of you to come to my palace and order my guards to throw out one of my guests. It makes me wonder why we don't meet up more often. I'm just looking out for your best interests, Your Majesty. Celestia's face was serene as ever, refusing to betray the intense loathing she had for this creature, the very embodiment of everything she hated about ruling. Let's see what you want, as if I even had to look. The scroll unrolled to its very bottom. So you still want us to raise Ponyville? Why, of course, Your Majesty. We tracked those impudent commoners that dared to disrupt the most respectable of social gatherings, the Grand Galloping Gala. The entire town is guilty of harbouring fugitives. Certainly you can see the need to restore order. And you think slaughtering an entire town is going to restore an order that, as far as I can tell, is not in need of restoring at this moment? Blue Blood was stunned. Celestia's nonchalant response was the same as the last 1,500 times he'd made the same request. But Your Majesty, that unicorn, the dressmaker, she dared to sully my royal lips with carnival fare, and when I gave her the honour of saving my luxurious self from another one of these devils, she dared to act offended. These monsters stripped me of my honour, destroyed your entire ballroom, and even now run free. Of course they did. I was ready to knight all 6 of them on the spot. Blue Blood, your request is denied. Please, if only for your sake, let this go. There was more she could have said, like how his ancestress was adopted, and how she once almost swapped him and Nightmare Moon's places. Those were not the thoughts of a princess, however. She had often told Luna, a princess may be stern, but she can never show anger. And for her sister's sake, she had to keep it up, even if it meant dealing with a pony she would rather swallow paint than talk to. Blue Blood huffed and puffed, but didn't blow any more hot air that day. He simply stood, bowed in a rather insulting fashion, and stormed off. "Until tomorrow, that is. He'll keep coming back. Better step up those land acquisitions. The sooner we can buy his entire estate out from under him, the better." With the last of her business for the day concluded, Celestia stood and stretched her legs. Her walk down the steps was slow and uneven, her muscles sore and exhausted from sleep deprivation. A dark part of her mind just wanted to blow off her last obligation for the day and just get some sleep. But she was able to suppress that errant thought. Her sister was the most important pony in the world to her, and she would not leave her waiting.